Things like this usually don't happen in a community like ours. It's very tragic.
Investigators release autopsy reports today for 8 members of an Ohio family killed execution style.
We begin tonight with a deadline that has passed for the mother of 2 missing children from Rexburg.
Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, and in this channel we talk about all things true crime related. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. There are 2 ways that really help me out, and I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So in today's case, I will be discussing that of Crystal Rogers. One of the main reasons that I'm covering this case is because tomorrow, May 27th, so I'm recording this on Memorial Day, and I'm hoping to get this out by tomorrow, but we'll see how well I can edit it. But the first trial in her case regarding Steve Lawson begins at 8:15, like I said, on May 27th. So I wanted to go over it. This was a case that took over the nation, over the last few years. It was huge when Brooks Houck was arrested, and now I haven't really heard too much about her since her case is upcoming. I wanted to do a little recap. First, I want to mention that everyone in this episode is innocent until proven guilty, and all crimes are alleged. Please go do your own research, come to your own conclusions. All the material I used to put this episode together is all public. I'm no expert in this or any other cases, so I'm sure I missed some things. This case is huge. Please feel free to comment below anything I missed, or if I did get something wrong. I'm here to make sure that I give you guys the correct details so we can get to know the victims and these cases. So, 35-year-old Crystal Maria Rogers went missing out of Bardstown, Kentucky back in 2015. I'll go through the timeline here in a little bit, but this is a case that gained, like I said, so much national coverage as her live-in boyfriend was named a suspect within 6 months of her disappearance. However, it wouldn't be until 8 years later that an arrest would be made. Now, Crystal Rogers was the oldest child to Tommy and Sherry Ballard, with a sister Brooke and a brother Casey. Usually I try not to go into too many details with the family members' names, like the sisters and brothers of them, because, my heart aches for them. They are victims in this. I try to give as much detail without trying to step over lines when it comes to the victim. But in this case, Crystal's family, her brother, her sister, her mother, her father, have been fighting for justice since the day she went missing. She was reportedly a daddy's girl, and she was a really laid-back mother herself. Her brother would say that if someone tried to tell Crystal what to do with her kids, she just wasn't having it. She wanted the best for her kids, even at one point working 2 jobs to make sure that they had everything they needed. Like I said, she was a mother of 5, and her kids were her everything. Now, from what I saw, she was married to a man named Keith for about a decade before the 2 separated in 2012. The couple would share custody of their children that they shared, and she would move out into a separate home that was owned by Brooks Houck and would eventually start dating him. The couple would move in together after she found out she was pregnant. Now, I just want to reiterate how much there is to this case, and sometimes I may say things wrong, I may speak wrong. Just have grace, because sometimes I know that with so many sources, some of them get it wrong as well, and you have all these conflicting dates. So sometimes I just give you what I can the best way I can. Anyways, it was July 5th, 2015, when Sherry Ballard received a text from her oldest granddaughter asking if she had heard from her mother because she couldn't reach her. So Sherry sent a text to her daughter, Crystal, saying that she needed to contact her daughter, and then Sherry just went about her day. But it was sometime after that her granddaughter indicated that she still has not heard from her mother. And that's when Sherry decided to reach out straight to Crystal, and her phone went to voicemail. Sherry knew something was wrong, and she would start calling around to all the family and friends that she knew of Crystal to see if anyone had seen her recently. And it doesn't seem like anyone had seen her since July 3rd, which is when her cousin and her aunt ran into her at Walmart before she went to go drop off 2 of her kids with Keith. Now, her family decided to report her missing to police, and while Tommy and Casey, her father and brother, were at the police station, they would learn that a car that appeared to be like Crystal's was seen on the Bluegrass Parkway. So Tommy and Casey decided to leave right then and go check it out. Now, when they arrived, they found Crystal's maroon 2007 Chevy Impala on the side of the road with a flat tire, and from the outside, they could see that the keys, her phone, and purse were inside the vehicle. Now, Crystal's family did not miss a beat when it came to searching for her, even offering a reward within days of her disappearance of $25,000. It's important, I think, to note that Brooks Houck and his family were not out helping search for Crystal. Brooks Houck would be brought in by the Nelson County Sheriff's Office on July 8th to answer some questions. Honestly, I don't know why it took to the 8th for him to be brought in, because as from what I understand, Crystal's family was out looking for her the 6th and the 7th, but he came in on the 8th. In the interview, Brooks would tell investigators that he last saw Crystal on July 3rd. He said that they had spent some time together on the family farm where they did some farm activities with cows and things of that nature. From what her mother said, this was a normal thing for them. They often went to the family farm where they would roast hot dogs and marshmallows, and it was something that they all enjoyed. Brooks said that when him and Crystal and their son, who was 2 years old at the time, would return home, he went to bed while Crystal stayed up playing games on her phone with their 2-year-old. He said that he woke up the next day, the morning of July 4th, with their son in bed with him, and Crystal was just gone. He wasn't worried and assumed that she would just meet him at his family get-together later for the 4th of July celebration. Now, police would question Brooks as to a phone call that he received at 12:07 a.m. on July 4th. So Brooks took it upon himself to call this person, Steve Lawson, who is the person whose trial is coming up on Tuesday, and he put the phone on speaker. I'll go ahead and play the clip for you here.
Okay, if we put that number in?
Yeah, go right ahead. Do what you gotta do.
Looks like you got a couple messages.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that.
You
I've
just
got an
do-
Apple phone. So just,
You just want to put the number in, right?
or check contacts or however you do it to see who it is, yeah. Check this one.
492-1390. Just call it. Oh, Steve Lawson.
Okay, who is Steve Lawson?
He's somebody works for me. Hey, Steve. Hey, I can't hear you real good. I'm gonna ask you to speak up a little bit, okay?
Okay, sir.
Hey, I was wanting to know. Hey, I've got some things going on next week.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna need your help with it. Are you already booked up, or can you help me?
I haven't moved up yet. I'm still looking for a place. That's why I needed them numbers from you.
All right. Well, I can write them all down and get them there for you. But I was actually talking about doing some more work with your little skid steer and so forth. Mine's still broke down.
Well, like I said, get with me tomorrow. I'm coming. I know you have a hard time hearing me because it's where I'm located at.
All right.
So just get in touch with me tomorrow and we'll see what we can do. But my question, I just want to tell you I'm sorry about everything that's going on in your life, brother, and I got you in my prayers.
I said it is a very difficult and trying time, but I appreciate you saying that. But hey, I need your help while I got you on the phone here. Do you remember the other night you called me really late, and I forgot what you asked me. Can you? I guess we wasn't on the phone. I might have been tired. I know it was pretty late at night. Can you remember what you asked me or what you were after? I can't remember.
Yes, sir, I can. I called to ask you for them numbers for a house.
Oh, for a rental house.
Yes, sir,
And
I did.
and what did I forgot? What did I tell you?
You told me that you would call, what's her name, Katie or whatever, she handles all that.
Crystal.
Crystal, okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
And you said she handles all that, and that you would get back with me on it.
All right. Thank you so much. Now.
Hey, if there's anything I can do, you give me a call.
Thank you. You have a good night now.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that begs a question in my mind.
All right.
If she's in the truck next to you when he called, why would you need to call her about getting numbers for rental
Because
property?
being that late at night, we're headed to the house. You know, I just wouldn't. She normally's not going to deal with stuff that late. And I mean, I probably didn't even look at the phone to see who it was calling me. I'm sure I just answered it. You know.
But he said you told him that you'd need to call her.
All right.
Why would you need to call her? I mean, that's an odd phrase for someone who's sitting next to you in the truck. Do you understand? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. But I mean, that's what if that right there is what I told him. That right there is what I told him. We wasn't on the phone that long, but normally I would just she handles all that, and that's what I would do. She's not going to want to mess with that kind of stuff that late. I'm sure I probably tried to answer the phone really quickly, so that it wouldn't, a lot of times after I get moving, Eli goes to sleep, you know. Sometimes he goes to sleep in the truck, sometimes he doesn't. So if you want to call him, you got his number and everything. If you want to call him, you know, you can call him.
Now, what the fuck was that? Why did he lead off some of that conversation with talking about a job that he had for Steve rather than the reason he was calling, which was to find out why he called in the first place? I don't love that conversation. I feel like it gives a lot away. And then I love how the investigator followed up with, that doesn't make any sense. If you're supposed to call Crystal, she was sitting right next to you. And then if you listened to Brooks' response, he said a whole bunch of nothing. Somehow we ended up with his son his son falls asleep in the truck. I'm not really sure what happened there, but it definitely was a red flag for me. Also during this interview, more towards the end, Brooks' brother Nick Houck, a police officer with the Bardstown police, would call him like about an hour into the interview, and it was weird. I'll go ahead and play that for you here.
Still getting video from different places, you know, that along that route.
Can I get this?
Sure, buddy. Yes.
Hello? No. I'm up here. I know that you didn't know. I'm up here in this interview with the Detective Snow. I've been up here a good little while. I'm filling out this statement here and everything. Are you telling me that's what I need to do? I know that. But the way that I look at it is, I'm innocent. I ain't done nothing wrong. What, you know? I know you told me innocent people have got jammed up, but if you're telling me to leave, I'll get up and leave. If you want me to. I know I'm going through a lot, but I'm trying to get this guy to help me. I don't think she's ran off with some other guy. I don't believe that. You can't make me think that. No. Yeah, so do I. I'll do exactly what you're telling me to do right now. Do you want me to get up and leave? Man, I don't think these guys. I don't think these people have got vindictive just to skin me for no reason. Man, this is not their family. This is not. All right, thank you. He thinks y'all gonna fuck is what he thinks.
I don't know who he is.
Nick, my brother.
If you want to go, you're free.
No, I know it, but I'm not. He just said just to keep sitting up here, to give a statement, do an interview, whatever I got to do it. But he said, darn, just to keep letting them just beat you to death over this right here. Just ask what you got to ask and let you know.
Again, what was that? How staged does that conversation feel? But moving on, the following day, on July 9th, Nancy Grace would do an episode on Crystal, which would include Crystal's parents, and even Brooks would be in an interview. She would ask him about the relationship, and he said at times that their relationship was stressed. However, whenever he and Crystal disagreed or fought, she would go over to her cousin's house, so he wasn't worried about her. Nancy Grace called him out for not helping search for Crystal with her family, and he insisted that he was being helpful behind the scenes with the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. So then she went and asked if he had taken a polygraph test, which we learned he did take one, and it was inconclusive. Then, on July 15, 2015, Brooks' brother Nick was ordered to sit down with the Kentucky State Police by the Bardstown police chief after he initially refused to do an interview with them. The KSP questioned him about Crystal's disappearance, and he agreed to take a polygraph test. He was also questioned about the phone call he made to his brother Brooks during that interview, if he remembered making it, and the fact that after that interview, he and his brother were seen driving to the family farm, him following his brother or his brother following him, one right after another. But when questioned what he talked with Brooks there about, he said he couldn't remember, even though, again, this interview was on the 15th and this happened on the 8th, so like a week prior. Another big takeaway from this interview was the fact that there were bodily fluids found in the trunk of Nick's car, and he was really unable to explain how it got there.
Okay. I thought you meant on the farm.
No. I guess, I mean, it's no secret that your cruiser was, the chief asked you to bring it in.
Yeah.
He
didn't ask me to bring it in, it came to my house.
Okay. Yeah. What do you normally keep in your trunk? What's a normal duty setup? Like, I know ours looks like, evident store exploded in our trunk.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've got a cardboard box back there, and I mean, it's got, say there's flashlight, so we're obviously rechargeable flashlights in the car, there's many forms, there's a PBT, fire extinguisher, there's a department issued shotgun in the car, there's a bag up front with all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in those cars.
You generally keep all that stuff in your trunk all the time?
Some of it's in the trunk, some of it's up front in the seat. All the forms I use every day would be up front. I've got something that attaches to the passenger seat, and it's got all the forms, the accident report forms and all that stuff I use every day.
You take that car home with you, it's a take-home car,
yes.
Nobody else uses it unless something was to come up.
The only other person that's used that car is Tom Blair. It was issued to him first, and then it was passed down to me.
Okay.
But that's that's been a while back.
Yeah. How long has that been, do you think?
That's been a couple of years.
Okay. So you've been the only one that's driven it in the last couple of years?
Oh yeah.
Do y'all have stop sticks or anything, stingers?
I don't. I mean, there's some units do.
So what you keep in the trunk is a cardboard box with some extra stuff in it, fire extinguisher.
Hats, just rain jackets.
Hats, rain jackets.
I mean, I could sit here and try to tell you every item. I probably could come up with half of them.
When they took your car, when the PD took your car from your house, what was in the trunk then?
Well, it's this morning grand jury came up with just all the stuff I just told you, but there was also one other thing I can remember that was there was just a regular blanket for moving. Where I moved from 104 Glenview Drive to where I'm at now, I took the blanket that was there and I just put it between furniture to keep it from marring up the finish on it. As it went down the road, I guess it was going to jingle around and.
In the trunk of your cruiser? You had furniture in the trunk?
No, I didn't. No, what I did, I got the blanket at the farm. I used it, and then I was going to take it back in a few days. I forgot about it, so it's sitting there in the trunk, But no, I used my trailer and truck.
Okay. So instead of putting it in the truck, you put it in the trunk of the cruiser, though?
Yeah, I was going to return it back out there, so I just put it in the trunk, and then when I was out there, I was just going to return it where I found it.
Did you just not never get around to it?
I didn't.
Where you said you got it from the farm? Where specifically did you get it from?
The skid house. There's several of them down there.
Where at specifically in the skid house?
When you walk in the front door, right there to the right hand side.
Okay.
Do the other blankets look just like that blanket?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, it'd be easy to say, look, there's still 2 blankets here. That's the same blanket. That's what was there.
I think so.
Now, were all those things in your trunk when they took the car, other than the blanket? So nothing was missing out of your trunk as far as your fire extinguisher. It was in there.
Everything was in there with the blanket.
So everything was in your trunk, just like you carry it when you go to work, except the blanket was in there with it.
Yeah.
So do you remember going out to the farm the evening of July the 8th?
I don't, but I very easily could have been out there.
That was incidentally the same night that your brother was. I think the same night your brother was interviewed by police.
Yeah, Wednesday, July 8th. You said there was cameras out there on that house. What if the cameras would have caught your car following Brooks
Wouldn't
on the way out to the?
Wouldn't surprise me.
But you said generally, you would just go out to the farm and you would just meet him there. On this occasion, you all both went
Well,
together.
usually I don't meet him there. I mean, he's just out there doing his own thing, and then I go out there and do my own thing.
Well, if that's what happened that night, it would have been just perfect timing that you were following right behind him, that you just so happened to meet him at the farm.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. So think back. Was there a time that you all both went out there at the same time for a specific reason?
Not that I recall.
So it just would have been coincidence that your car was following right behind his truck when it passed by that camera going to the farm?
Yeah, that's happened before.
Mm-hmm. So this night in particular, it would have been, you would have left after dark. Y'all came together and you would have left after dark. Do you remember that night?
Easily could have.
Okay. Do you remember it?
No, really I don't.
Okay. Do you remember, were y'all in the skid house? Were you at your mom's talking?
No, I can't even remember what he was doing. It was the 8th, it's the 15th, I don't.
Okay. Do you remember being out there with him at the farm that evening?
I think I remember seeing him out there.
Okay, so you didn't. You're saying you didn't intentionally follow him out there, and did you all leave? Do you remember leaving together?
Mm-mm.
Why did he leave earlier or you leave earlier? Do you remember?
I don't have any idea.
Did you leave first or did he leave first?
I don't know.
But you remember, it's just been a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Driving down Pascal Ballard, your car behind his truck. You got turned into the farm there. Do you remember? Can you go back and put that in your head, just driving down that road and you see your brother in front of you, and after that?
I can't.
Let's go back. You remember talking to your brother on the phone when he was up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after you got off the phone with him?
I really don't know.
He would be interviewed again on July 24th, where he was confronted this time with the fact that he actually failed the polygraph test, specifically the question of if he knew where Crystal was. And of course, he got defensive and said he doesn't give a shit what the computer system is telling him, that he has no idea what happened to Crystal, and he's being honest with them. But he was suspended without pay in September of 2015, and it would be announced in mid-October that he would actually be fired for his actions regarding interfering with the Crystal Rogers case and failing the polygraph test. Basically, his boss came out and said that they just don't have trust in him anymore. If you can't have trust in your police officer, if your peers cannot have trust in you, then what good are you? It was also announced in mid-October that the sheriff's office presumed Crystal Rogers as deceased, and the main suspect in her disappearance was her boyfriend at the time, Brooks Houck. The news would report on the fact that a family friend and longtime worker of Brooks Houck was arrested on December 15, 2015, and charged with 38 counts of perjury after he provided false testimony regarding where he was the night of July 3rd to July 4th. He testified before a grand jury on September 16, 2015, and from what I was able to gather, basically it sounds like he testified that he was someplace else, and they were able to prove that he was not at that place, that he was in fact at home. He would plead guilty to a lesser charge of false swearing and was given 360 days as a sentence and was released after 8 months. From what I was able to gather, the Ballards hired a private investigator when Crystal went missing to help find her. While interviewing witnesses, it was learned that a white Buick was seen on the night of Crystal's disappearance parked in a strange location on Brooks' mother's farm. This would lead to Tommy Ballard requesting information on a Facebook post, and someone would reach out to Tommy to provide information leading them back to Brooks Houck's grandmother, who owned a white Buick. So Tommy provided this information to investigators, and they would go on to execute a search warrant on the grandmother's home to obtain the car, and they learned that it had been sold to a dealership. They were able to obtain the car and search it for any forensic evidence. Brooks' grandmother, Anna, would be called to testify at a grand jury about what I would assume would be her car and the use of it and any knowledge she would have in regards to Crystal's disappearance, but she failed to show up, invoking her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Her attorney said that she provided police with the car when they asked, and that there's basically nothing else to the story, but she won't testify. It was clear, though, that the investigators believed that this white Buick was used to dispose Crystal's body and that had been cleaned and sold to prevent police from searching it for evidence. Anna was never charged with anything involving this crime and has since passed away, so we won't obviously be seeing her at either of the trials. Now, in July of 2016, Sherry and Tommy Ballard would file for custody of the son that Crystal and Brooks shared, saying that they hadn't seen him since before she went missing. This makes me sad when I hear this, and when any grandparent has to go through this after they lost a child. It's so sad that they lost somebody that they loved, and the only thing that they have left of them they can't see. In August 2006, a search was conducted on some of Brooks Houck's family property. The Nelson County Sheriff's Office, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and the Louisville Metro Police Department searched over 300 acres and used multiple cadaver dogs while doing so. Now, the next big update in the case would be a terribly sad one, and it makes it hard to watch videos prior to November of 2016 because all you hear is Tommy Ballard discussing searching for his daughter, how much he would love closure, how he wants answers, how he is hopeful that one day he was able to get answers. And he seemed like one of the biggest driving forces behind searching for Crystal and asking questions. But on November 19, 2016, Tommy Ballard would be shot one time in the chest and killed. He was on family property near the Bluegrass Parkway getting ready to hunt with his 12-year-old grandson when he was shot. Police have determined that he was obviously killed at the hands of someone else, but was this a hunting accident or murder? Police would go on to rule out his grandson for obviously an accidental shooting for Tommy. So they know it wasn't Tommy and they know it wasn't his grandson. So they believe it was obviously someone else, but was it on purpose or was it just an accident while hunting? It's hard to believe that this was an accident, though. From my understanding, he was just getting out of his truck or near his trunk. And how do you see someone who's near a truck and shoot them like it could be an animal? And there's a lot of deaths in this small town of 13,000 people of Bardstown, Kentucky. It just, I don't know. Now, in regards to the investigation, it seems like over the next few years, not too many things were said about Crystal's disappearance. Now, this doesn't mean they weren't doing things in the background, but we didn't really hear anything investigation-wise for quite some time. Now, in July of 2017, we did see that Brooks' new girlfriend was caught stealing signs regarding Crystal's disappearance. And how fucking gross is that? Stealing signs of someone who has disappeared. That's just like the grossest shit. It just screams jealousy. You're jealous of someone who is missing and presumed dead by your boyfriend. Like, it's disgusting. But speaking of signs, it looks like just before the 4th anniversary of Crystal's disappearance, signs were put up around Bardstown with specific messages such as Nick failed a polygraph and Brooks Houck is the only suspect in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers.
Advise, to ride the wave and keep on keeping on, and that's what I've done, and it's worked out great this far.
Which I fucking love. I love this. I saw that there was like 75 signs put up, and I love that they were calling out the family for what they are. Allegedly. The FBI would step in and take over the case in August of 2020 and began executing search warrants across multiple properties associated with the Houck family. And even his storage unit owned by Crystal was searched. And from what I saw, this was searched for the first time, which I hope isn't true. I mean, I'm sure there wasn't too much in there, but also the fact that if that's true, that's like 6 years of something that wasn't searched that belonged to the victim. But the FBI conducted another multi-day search in August of 2021, where it was noted that this time federal agents found items of interest under a driveway in the Woodland Springs subdivision, in which 2 homes in that area were registered to Houck Rentals, LLC. Another search was conducted at the 245-acre Houck family farm that lasted like 5 days from what I saw. Evidence was found, and that evidence was sent to the FBI's lab for testing. There hasn't really been too much in regards to testing that we've heard, but in January of 2023, the Kentucky AG appointed a special prosecutor to work on Crystal's case, her father Tommy Ballard's case, and another murder in the town of Jason Ellis, which was a cop that was also killed on the Bluegrass Parkway. And finally, an arrest would be made 9 months after the special prosecutor was put in office. Eventually, it would be 3 arrests in total. Joseph Lawson was the first arrested, and we didn't even really know who he was. We just saw that there was an arrest associated with the Crystal Rogers case, and the only reason we believe that was because the arrest affidavit for him indicated that this took place over the July 3rd to the July 5th weekend. Now, we were able to see that his name was Joseph Lawson, who could be related to Steve Lawson, the person that Brooks Houck was talking to during the first interview with investigators. Joseph Lawson was charged with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence. A few weeks following his arrest, Brooks Houck would finally be arrested. Now, he was named a suspect months after she disappeared, and it would take this long when he was charged with murder and tampering with evidence and was held on a $10 million bond. He was not happy about this either, because Joseph's bond was set at like $500,000, I think, and Brooks, with his 83 rental properties, would be able to definitely afford $500,000, but $10 million is a different story. This would be something that came up a few different times through the course of when he was arrested until now. But the difference with Brooks is he was charged with a big M word, and from my understanding, not do they only take into account the charges, but the means the person has. Brooks' arraignment in a bond hearing was held in the beginning of October, where the prosecutor noted that they had obtained a gun that was sold to them by Nick Houck, but he was using a different name. He was using a fake name, and they believed that that gun was used to kill Tommy Ballard. Now, since this hearing, like I said, in 2023, we have not heard anything else in regards to this. We'll have to see how it plays out. It seems like they're keeping a lot of stuff close to the vest with this one. It was also brought up in the hearing that the family members of Brooks Houck, including his sister, his brother-in-law, and his mother's boyfriend, secretly recorded the grand jury testimony by bringing in recorders back in the 2015 grand jury. Now, due to the fact that there is a statute of limitations in this case, they would not be charged for this crime. But it looks like during one of the searches of the family's property, they located the recorder and they were able to listen to it, and they could hear voices. One that was noted was one of a male who they believe is Brooks, was basically like convincing another female, the sister, that she had to do this so they could hear what was being said. And prosecutors believe that this was done in order to get their story straight, which you don't have to get shit straight if you're telling the truth. But Stephen Lawson would be arrested in December, and he was also charged with a conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence, the same charges as his son. And by March 2024, all three defendants would request to have their trials moved out of Nelson County due to the coverage of the cases. While the special prosecutor filed a motion to consolidate all three suspects' trials into one, the defendants objected to this and wanted all three separate. Lots of motions would be filed over the next few years, arguing for and against trying to all three cases together. Over the next 6 to 8 months, like I said, there would be a lot of motions filed, and we would learn a lot of details in regards to the case through these motions, such as when Steve Lawson filed to have his charges dropped, saying that he had been given immunity. However, the judge would find that given the facts that Steve was not offered anything in writing, the offer was only orally, and that the fact that immunity is contingent on Steve providing truthful information. And according to the Commonwealth, Steve did not provide truthful information, and they seem to believe that he was basically trying to minimize his role in the disappearance of Crystal. But with this back and forth of immunity, the court was able to shed light on previous searches that were conducted in Nelson County that detectives decided to dig at only after Stephen said that he saw Joseph and another man burning and digging within days of Crystal's disappearance. In August of 2024, Steve Lawson would inform the judge that he had fired his attorney, claiming that his attorney was actually working with attorneys of his co-defendants rather than what would be in his best interest. The Commonwealth confirmed this by saying that it did not appear he had conflict-free counsel. So Steve would be appointed new attorneys. In October, the judge ruled that finally the cases or the trials would be moved from Nelson County to Warren County, and that the trial would be held in Bowling Green in hopes of picking a fair jury due to the media coverage. Now, the following month, a trial for Stephen would be set for February 10th, 2025, after a judge ruled that the cases would be separate because the grand jury statements would be admissible for trial, but Brooks and Joseph were unable to cross-examine these statements, so that would be prejudice against them at their trial, that they would not be able to defend themselves against them. Steve Lawson was said to have taken the stand 4 times before the Nelson County grand jury between September 2015 and September 2023. According to court documents, the first time he testified that he has done work for Brooks about a half a dozen times, and that 12:07 a.m. call that he made, he was drunk and it was early in the morning and he was asking some information about the rental properties and that he knew nothing about her disappearance. But 8 years later, his story changed. According to court documents from September of 2023, Steve told the grand jury that Brooks had told him that he wanted his wife gone and that Joseph had helped move Crystal's car to the Bluegrass Parkway where he got a flat tire. Steve went out there and picked up Joseph, moved the car seat forward because in his mind Crystal was shorter than Joey, and he said that Brooks offered him work in exchange for assisting with moving Crystal's car. And that brings me back to that phone call that he made when he led off talking about work. At one point, I also think Steve told someone that Brooks offered him $50,000 to move the car, but there were so many stories put up by Steve Lawson that it's hard to know what's true or not. The trial for Steve, the one that was set February of 2025, was continued due to the fact that his new lawyers were just appointed in August of 2024. So the trial was continued from February to May 27th at 8:15 a.m. Just a few months ago, in March of 2025, the Commonwealth filed a motion asking for testing of 2 hairs that they found inside Crystal's car, one on the floorboard and one in the driver's seat. The prosecutors would rescind this request in April after the lab had time to determine that the hair did not belong to Steve or Joseph. Basically, the prosecutor said that when he saw that these 2 hairs were not tested, he basically freaked out a little bit and requested them to be tested as soon as possible. As the lab was able to look at them, it was confirmed that the hair was not of either Lawson's, because one of the hairs was 7 inches and the other hair was even longer, like 12 inches. The judge did hear arguments regarding the hairs, as the defense wanted them tested, saying that the hairs could point to an alternate suspect, including the hair of Nick Houck, which could implicate him as a possible suspect, and the lawyers wanted a delay in the case so they could have the hairs tested. But on April 18th, the Nelson County judge denied this request, saying that the defense was just simply trying to further delay the proceeding and that the hairs would most likely not bear any relevance to the case. It would not change the prosecutor's allegations against Lawson. Now, another hair was also found in the trunk of the white Buick that was formerly owned by Brooks' grandmother, and lab techs were able to note that this hair appeared similar to Crystal's. Now that the trial is days away, or depending when I actually get this out, it may have already started, but the court has issued a notice that the media will not be allowed to live stream, video record, or audio record during the courtroom trial. Only court personnel will be allowed to record the trial, and media is not allowed to bring in any cameras, cell phones, laptops, or any other electronic devices, and will be seized if they do. According to a local news station, this is the first time in 20 years that this judge has barred cameras from being in the courtroom, and it said that it's just basically his goal to preserve a fair and dignified trial. So we'll only be able to hear updates from reporters when they're able to go on breaks like lunch and whatnot. Brooks and Joseph's trial is set to begin on June 24th, and not much has been mentioned about their trial specifically. There was a court hearing recently that took place where they discussed some of the defense's experts. They requested to call a homicide investigator who was supposed to testify on the standard operating procedure during a death investigation, not specifically commenting on what the Nelson County Sheriff's Office did or didn't do, and also an interrogation expert, which I'm sure is there to discuss the interrogation that was conducted on Brooks. It was also said that in regards to statements that Joseph made, the Commonwealth and the defense stipulated that they would only be using statements from Joseph made to the FBI during 2 interviews from October of 2020. The prosecutor also confirmed that during Joseph and Brooks' trial, they will not be calling Stephen Lawson to testify. Now, as for Steve Lawson and his trial, he is facing 10 to 20 years for conspiracy to commit murder and 1 to 5 years for tampering with evidence. His trial is expected to last a week, and I am following Shay McAllister for trial coverage. I hope I said that right. She's been doing an amazing job. She's been giving so many details that it makes it really easy to follow. She said that there is a sealed motion hearings expected for tomorrow morning, May 27th at 8:15 in the morning, which we will not be hearing about, hence sealed, and that they will start picking the jury, and it's expected that jury selection will last a day or 2. I'm hoping that the Commonwealth has more than just Steve's inconsistencies in regards to evidence against him and the others. I'm sure we'll find out more evidence during Brooks' portion of this trial because of his charges are a little different than the other ones. But I will keep you guys updated, and please feel free to share details I may have missed or comments below. Like I said before, there is so much in this case. If you have made it this far in the video, I truly appreciate you. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel so we can get to 1,000 subscribers. Please make sure also to comment below any of the cases you would like me to discuss. You can find all my sources and ways to support the channel in the description box. Until next time, stay safe out there. The world's an ugly place.